Hey, Kenny here. I'm down on Bay Street here in Florence, Oregon, and there's a number of historical markers down here, so I thought I'd walk around and see if I can find each one and do a little bit of filming around it and tell you about what the sign says. Anyway, let's go walk around Bay Street.
Bill's Garage. Constructed in 1944, this building fell into the mudflats during the storm of 1951 and winched back into place as it stands today. For half a century, 1944 to 1995, until his death in '89, this corrugated metal and wood structure was Bill Kornofsky's auto and outboard motor garage. When not occupied by work, Bill commandeered a large recliner in front of an old wood-burning stove where his native Oregonian retold stories of bygone days to a daily gaggle of friends and visitors. Slim Brown's Pool Hall. Built in the late 1940s, this structure housed a pool hall and poker parlor through the 1960s. It was renovated and a second story added in 1990. Next door was Addie's Cafe for many years. It was remodeled in the mid-70s. This bookstore holds a secret. There's a geocache in here, hidden in a book. The Kyle Building. Built in 1904 by William Kyle, this false-fronted Italianate commercial structure served as a mercantile store until 1961. The upstairs as a social center. Restoration began in 1971, culminating in its being placed on the National Register of Historic Buildings 10 years later. The Lockers. Constructed sometime after 1915, this building served as a drugstore and later a butcher shop. The rear section was added in the early 1940s, housing meat lockers until the 1950s. From 1968 until renovated in its present state by Hogstone, it was known as Phil's. Harbor Theater. Built in 1938 as the Florence Theater, the facade displayed a stucco exterior. After an internal fire in 1957, it was refurbished and renamed the Harbor Theater, one of the last neighborhood theaters operating in Oregon. It continued dispensing candy bars, popcorn, and movies until it closed in 2003. In May 2004, this historical building was transformed into On Your Feet footwear. The distinctive neon sign, now displaying shoes, has lit up Bay Street for over 6 decades. Telephone Company Building. Built by O.W. Hurd circa 1905, this structure was Florence's first telephone office, commencing operations in 1912. Switchboards were downstairs, operator quarters on the second floor. Its design is a good example of early commercial architecture with scrolled cornice brackets along the false front. Electric Building. Built in 1938 by Oscar Funke on the property of Maple and Bay for the local power company. It was moved and refurbished in 1983. Florence Rooming House. Built circa 1910, this building served Florence as a boarding house and later as the Old Town Rooms. The second-story bay windows are original and were uncommon in coastal construction outside of urban centers such as San Francisco. Restoration commenced in the 1980s for commercial and residential use. The Johnson House. Constructed in 1892 and enlarged to its present size in 1907, this West Coast-style Victorian building served as a doctor's office, boarding house, and private residence. For decades, the home of Milo and Cora Johnson until in 1981 it was restored as a bed and breakfast, remaining so until 2003. The David House. Built in 1906 by Charles David, a local millwright, this residence is among the oldest remaining homes in Florence. Noteworthy is the sunburst design at the peak of the roof, an earlier Eastlake decorative detail and commonly found on Oregon coast homes of this period. Schoolhouse, Callison Building. Originally constructed in 1905 as a schoolhouse, this two-story structure included a bell tower and twin dormers. In 1953, a fire destroyed the second floor. For decades until 1989, it housed Callison's Wholesale Greenery. Extensive renovation was completed in 1991 with the addition of the western dormer and cupola. The original bell in the bell tower fell to the concrete during the fire of the upper story and was damaged. Another historical landmark on Bay Street is the Mapleton Depot. Built in 1912, the Southern Pacific Railroad Depot served Mapleton, Oregon, a community 15 miles east of here. With the widening of Highway 126 in 1976, it was saved from demolition by local contractor Mike Johnson and rebuilt on the present site by Jim Alexander in 1977 under the ownership of Hodgkey. It is now the Waterfront Depot restaurant.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. Your comments are welcome. Subscribe, give me a like.